Hi, and welcome to the next episode of Belly to Belly. And I'm here today with Christi Williams from HubSpot, great friend, and we're going to talk about partnership marketing. Hey, Christi, how are you?
I'm good, Bill. Thanks so much for having me today.
Oh, it's wonderful to have you. And our topic today, partnership marketing. And as you think about it, and as you kind of work with companies who are trying to get it right, what is it, and why should we be concerned about partnership marketing?
Yeah, I mean, there's this saying that if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go further, go together, right? And so when you work in partnerships to do co-selling or co-marketing, it really just expands and extends your reach of who you're able to target and get interested and excited about what it is you're offering. So it's that classic two heads better than one. But there's a lot that goes into that. And so I think it really starts with developing the joint value proposition between your partner and your business and making sure that there's alignment and a clear mutual ideal customer profile that you can go after together. So I would start with the basics with your partners and defining those things to see where the opportunity is, how big is the market potential, and then prioritization from there.
Is it really about sort of leveraging, whether it's 2 or 3 or 5 or 10 partners working together to co-market? Is it really kind of at the core of the value prop, the idea that we can reach into all these communities and create a stronger value proposition for that audience?
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll use tools like Crossbeam to start to identify those overlaps, whether it's mutual prospects or mutual customers, if there's expansion plays. So there's tools at your disposal that you can use to figure out who that ICP might be if you're kind of getting stuck. And there's free versions of the tool. So, you can get in and take a look at that and start defining who that target account criteria is and who you're going after. I think the number one thing is getting that first customer, because then you can tell a story around the success of that customer that you jointly provided a solution to. Customers are often your best salespeople. So finding that one win and then digging deeper into it around how we solve this problem for this type of persona and this type of business can really go further to help you expand, not only who do you have in your own database and go after those organic leads, but then start thinking about maybe some account-based marketing where you've now defined who this target persona and target account is. Then you can do some sort of paid media around it and really start to expand your reach further than your own databases. Gotcha.
And would you, thinking about, let's just say that the first customer is in, it's a hospital, it's in the healthcare space. Would you particularly focus your effort from there to try to get maybe 5 reference hospitals on board so that you create some efficiency around this and create some density of customer? Or I guess trying to understand the philosophy from here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it depends on the business, but I do like to use verticalization as a way to really beef up your business and your what you're trying to accomplish, the stories that you're going to tell, and prove that you're an expert in that space. Yeah. And it's going to get easier each time, right? Because you're going to learn something. Not every healthcare institute is exactly the same, right? Even if on paper they may look it, there's going to be different needs and desires and just different operational things that they do internally that you're going to have to navigate. So I think it's kind of like going in and really owning that piece of the market and getting really good there. And then you can look at, okay, we've got a solid base here. We've got a solid motion. It's dialed in. It's almost kind of like, in the back of your head, just running, the engines are just running. And then you can go and say, okay, we're really good in this space. Now we want to break into this other industry. Maybe it's financial services, and there's the security element like that healthcare has that financial services have. Obviously different, but somewhat similar in the PII data that you're dealing with and those sorts of things. So yeah, looking at you, and you can do that by looking at your own customer base too, to start hey, we do a lot with healthcare. You do a lot with healthcare. Let's really hone in on that. And then you can say, okay, let's look at the data of the deals closed won in the last couple of years. Oh, I also see that FinServe or manufacturing is an opportunity for us. Let's go and focus on that one. So then it becomes this rinse and repeatable process where you make tweaks according to the industry, of course, because there's different pain points. But I think verticalization is a great way where partnerships can bring unique value to that type of business.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. And as you said earlier, the storytelling becomes so important, and that compounding story of gosh, you just see this density and expertise Is this, I mean, you think of the individual company and how maybe they've marketed for years, and more often than not, they're probably talking about their products. As you partner, does it allow you then to begin talking about solutions? Is that part of what you hope to transition to?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a big focus for us in the HubSpot ecosystem, especially as we look to go more up market. We find that there, with our more complex customers that require a lot more out the gate, there might not be something that HubSpot can do out of the box. And that's where those tech partners come in to further extend the capabilities of HubSpot. And then our solutions partners are on the other hand are the ones that are like, hey, maybe you don't have the bandwidth to implement this, or you need the hand holding and guidance to do it. We're here to actually implement these tools for you. And, you know, by being partners, you can be experts in each other's tools and really be a strategic guiding consultant for that business.
Right, you're solving some business problem with a set of tools and consultancy type operation. Yeah, no, that really makes a lot of sense. It seems so. I'm kind of thinking about, okay, where does partner marketing fail? And I'm, you know, it seems like there are probably a variety of sort of forks in the road where it either succeeds or not. And I would imagine I'm guessing the first one is people, right? It is, how committed are we? Are we co-committed to the process, and are we kind of, yeah, it's never equal, but are we putting in our fair share to it? How do you sort of manage that? And I would imagine you kind of, I mean, that first win probably really helps because it helps reinforce why. But how do you sort of prime the pump to get flow?
Yeah, it's an age-old question and something that comes up a lot. I mean, in addition to like the first step of defining that joint value proposition and who that ICP is like, do you like working together, right? Because it could look good on paper, but you've got to jive, right? You got to want to work together and respect one another. I always say, leave your egos at the door and come with an open mind to learn, because whoever you're partnering with is an expert in their space just as much as you're an expert in your space, and you're going to share that with each other to drive wins together. What I also say is, you know, once you like working together, you've got a good overlap in customers, and you've got a good message, you really need to define your shared KPIs, because what might be important to you may not be important to your partner, and vice versa. But the reality is there's probably this Venn diagram that you meet in the middle of this, you know, couple or one KPI that's your North Star that you're going after. So it's really important to align on that first. And then secondarily, leveraging each other's expertise to define swim lanes and keep accountability. So maybe you are my partner and you've got a really great marketing team that can build landing pages and email blasts and all these things. And it's like, okay, we're going to own building the content and the promotional channels, whereas the partner that you're working with might be an industry expert on healthcare and knows the pain points through and through and all this stuff. It's like, okay, well, you're going to be the speaker at the event that we're going to do together. So you kind of define those swim lanes up front and then use a tool to track all that. That can be as simple as a spreadsheet. You know, like if you don't have a big tech stack, but you know, you can use the projects tool inside HubSpot. You can use Asana if you have a project management tool. So just having that open dialogue up front on what you're trying to achieve and who's an expert in what to really assign those swim lanes is key to set you up for success. And then having regular recurring meetings. So getting 30 or 60 minutes on the books every week to be like, hey, you know, we said we were going to build a landing page. Where does that stand? And so forth and so on.
It's automatic accountability when you, yeah, it's amazing what gets done in the hour before those meetings. Oh no, I can't show up with nothing.
Yes. Yeah. So exactly.
Are there other fail points that kind of come to mind as you think of where these go awry?
Yeah, I mean, it's simple, but like lack of communication, it kind of goes into that accountability factor and just being clear on the ownership again. Or if priorities change, be proactive about that. Like, hey, I know we said we were going to do an event together in Q1. Maybe someone just left the company, or maybe, you know, this other big initiative came on your plate and you don't have the bandwidth to execute on it effectively. That's okay. Especially in marketing, things come up all the time and you got to be able to pivot. So being proactive about that and saying, hey, this isn't going to work this quarter. Can we look at Q2 or Q3? Just being really proactive in communication. I think, as I say always, but especially in a remote first world where you're maybe not side by side in your desk, like keep the dialogue open, send them a Slack message, send them an email, pick up the phone, and just make sure, because maybe it's not the right time, but you don't want to burn that partnership long term, because it could be really fruitful. It's just not the right time to act on it. So don't feel the pressure to get something done right away just because you have these really exciting grand plans, but be strategic and thoughtful about the timeline and make sure you're aligned on those things.
That makes total sense. One last question, and so we've kind of been talking about it, and I guess the thought bubble in my head is we're talking sort of about two partners working together, but I would imagine there are instances where it might be 3 or 4 or more partners working together to co-market. Is there a kind of a range or an optimal sweet spot you found in terms of this sort of collaborative marketing?
Yeah, I think I love to see the multi-partner plays. I think they're so exciting when all these different technologies and services come together to offer such a unique and amazing experience for their clients. I think, if you're doing some like digital marketing where it's like paid media, or maybe it's a digital event, like a webinar or half-day virtual event, I think you can have just, a couple partners, 2 or 3 partners. I think you can achieve the goals for those types of campaigns with less partners. I think, you don't need as many cooks in the kitchen, so to speak. But I think if you're going to do an in-person event, whether that's you putting on your own full-day event and hosting it, or if you're going to do a conference together or something like that, that's where you can have the sponsorships come into play, so that some other partners get a piece of the pie. Or, typically when you're doing an in-person event, that can be harder to get those butts in those seats because people are traveling or they're taking time out of their workday or away from their family, versus just, clicking an ad or jumping on a 1-hour Zoom link. So I think like with the larger type of field events or conferences and things like that, like you could do a joint booth at a conference and then do a nice dinner experience together. And then your funds go a lot further because we're talking about higher ticketed items here, right? So I think it depends on kind of the activities that you're thinking through, but I think it could be applied, based on what your goals are as a business. It could be applied to any shape or form in terms of how many partners you want involved, but that would be my advice.
Yeah. No, that makes total sense. And I would imagine you kind of want an ongoing effort, right? Having one, it's sort of like one hand clapping, having one promotional thing in collaboration. I would imagine you probably want to have more of a, what's our, kind of, whether it's 6-month or 12-month plan to create awareness.
What we try to enable with our partners in our ecosystem is like this, not to be a one and done campaign, but like building fruitful partnerships so that like that referral channel is just always open. And then in the meantime, maybe you do quarterly activities together or biannual activities together. If it's a big event, maybe it's just once a year, but then you have like, this recurring framework and playbook that you can go to market to. And that's when then you can start pivoting. Okay, we've nailed this segment. We want to go after this segment now. And it allows you to pivot more easily with that.
Makes total sense. I'm guessing most of our audience is really familiar with HubSpot. Do you want to just take a second and tell our audience what HubSpot does? And
HubSpot is a CRM at a very high level. We started as a marketing automation platform years and years ago when I first started using it as a customer, but we are a full-blown CRM now, and more recently like this agentic customer platform, because we're really leaning into supporting our customers through using AI to help them close deals faster, find contacts quicker, deploy marketing campaigns more quickly. And, you used to have to create all these assets, and now you can kind of use these different features and functionalities to take one asset and turn it into an email, LinkedIn post, a Facebook post, a podcast, a blog. So we're trying to enable our customers to move more quickly and adopt with AI, and not feel like it's like, hey, we're using AI, but it's just empowering the motions that you're going through and trying to, grow as a business. So.
That's fantastic. Well, this has been really wonderful. I appreciate you taking the time and all the great information you shared. Is it okay to share your contact details in the description?
Yeah, absolutely. Best way to find me is on LinkedIn. Happy to connect and share more and chat about your partner marketing goals.
Perfect. Thank you, Christi. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Bill.